What's up, Soul Warriors? It's me, LC, and I am here for this Winning Wednesday live with LC and you. Today is a very special day for me. It is mixed with many, many emotions. While I'm grateful to be here, and I'm just so still just profoundly amazed to talk about my experience yesterday in the Recover Yourself workshop with my good friend and amazing podcast host, MartinJon Garcia. I'm also mixed with some very sincerely sad emotions as I'll be saying goodbye to a good friend today. And it's not a permanent goodbye. It is only going to be a very temporary goodbye because, well, I believe that right is right and right will always prevail. No matter if it sometimes looks like wrong is prevailing at the moment, when we stand in our truth and we stand in what is true and right for us, then right prevails. And that brings me around into this topic today of what we're going to talk about that I experienced yesterday with the Recover Yourself podcast. Not podcast, workshop. MartinJon has an amazing Recover Yourself podcast that I urge you all to check out this link right here and go check out the podcast. It is filled with recovery information that is less about recovering from and being abstinent from substance, but this is what goes that step further that says, who am I recovering to? Who am I that I am recovering to? What is my best self? What does that look like? Who is that? Because for many of us, we don't know. For many of us, we just don't know. So while today, again, is mixed with heavy emotions, both on the scale of being absolutely amazed and grateful, it's also filled with sadness. And then it's going to roll around this afternoon to have an experience to interview Tommy Chong for our Walk a Mile in My Shoes podcast, where we are still visiting the topic of the drug war and how it violates our civil rights. So you see, this is a day that is packed full of so many different emotions and so all the way to either side. So if you all are ready to get into this Winning Wednesday live with LC and you, I'm ready. So let's get to it. Let's go live Winning Wednesday with me, LC, and you. I am, again, grateful to be here as always. I am looking forward to sharing all of this with you all. And my time is going to be limited here because, again, I got to go take care of a good friend and help him through what is appearing to be an amazingly huge crisis in his life. And that's okay. We have these crises. And sometimes it can seem like our world is falling down around us, and to the naked eye, to the very 3D self, it is. Our world as we know it is falling apart. But I still always hold deep to the belief that the breakdown brings the breakthrough. And for so many of us, we have been locked on to these stories that we tell ourselves. These stories. What's up, Anthony McCauley and Pamela Topchian? Love you both. We tell ourselves these stories. And while we think that what we see as circumstance in our life is random and it is just our hand we were dealt, it turns out that there's a much deeper vibration happening, and it's happening right within you. Now, we've all been through the recovery part where we're becoming abstinence from substance and we're trying to maintain or revisit our health, both mental and physical. But often in our current recovery paradigms and modalities, we forget to heal the deeper human. We forget to heal the root of where all of this actually lives. MartinJon in his amazing Recover Yourself workshop, his analogy was that of a tree, where our triggers are actually our leaves, and there's thousands of them. We come into the branches and those become our perceptions, but our root becomes, what story are you living by? What's the story that is so consistent within your life and your experience? We hear talk of the law of attraction in every imaginable corner. It doesn't matter where you go. You can hear somebody telling you how to manifest greatness, how to make your lists and call into you and attract everything you want. And all you have to do is affirmations. And these things are true in ways. But for a lot of people, they're finding out that these things don't work. Why doesn't it work for me? I've done all the steps. The same thing in recovery. I've done all the steps. Why can't I recover? And again, we go back to that question of, we are recovering from use, substance, habit. But what are we recovering to? And the two is you. And if you are not aware of the deeper vibrations, because let's get real and talk about what the law of attraction truly is. It is like vibration attracts like vibration. I learned massively yesterday that thoughts and perceptions are two completely separate things. So many times we think when we are caught up in our thoughts and we are identified with our thoughts, we're wrong. Those thoughts are actually not thoughts, they're perceptions. And our perception is what is actually where we're vibrating. I discovered yesterday, and I'm not ashamed to share this with you, it's the only way we break through. I realized that my core story in my life is, I'm not important. Now, this story was built for me as a very young child when my first memories of abuse started. I built that story, that perception, that became who I was very early on. And because I don't think about this every day, all day, we fail to realize how much that story is still very much in play. And that story is my vibration. And that vibration is what is attracting more to me. MartinJon did a beautiful job in explaining the reticular activating system, which is that part of our brain that grabs on to information that is actually relevant to our experience. And as we have set our story, that is actually what governs what our reticular activating system grabs onto. It's like having a conversation. We only catch on to those things in that conversation that our own personalized reticular activating system decides is important for us. And so as you're vibrating, that is how we have set the core of that reticular activating system to be looking for in every experience what vibrates the same within us. And that core vibration is dependent upon that story. So for me, my core story being, I'm not important, that is what I see in every experience. But until somebody absolutely helped me open that up, helped me go deeper into some exercises, into some memories, into some feelings, into some very specific situations, I was not able to bring all of that back around. And so when we're talking about personal development, which are all things that those of us that are in recovery and doing all we can to heal those root causes of addictions, what keeps us growing out. What's up, Missy? Hey, MartinJon's in the house, in fact, so I hope that I explained this well. What sets us all up for this stuff has been opening up my eyes to that story. And as Martin helped me discover yesterday and reminded me yesterday, is that story is a lie. That in every circumstance, when I am looking and trying to vibrate different, I keep finding that same vibration. I keep finding the information in my reality, my 3D circumstance that shows me and reminds me I'm not important. We also discovered yesterday that that story keeps me safe because it also keeps me living small. If I convince myself that I'm not important, I don't take big risks. I don't take the kind of risks in my dream, my chosen dream career, my soul's calling. I don't take those risks because my story reminds me, don't even step out. You're not important. Who wants to hear what you have to say? What makes your story important? And that can keep me safe all at the same time. Because while I may live with the regret of never doing it, I never have to experience feeling unimportant. We all know that we stay in bad circumstances even when we know we want to get out, we know we should get out because of the safety factor. The devil I know is much easier to deal with than the devil I don't. And so in 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 actually coming to the place where you recognize your core perception, your core story, you can then begin to see it in your life, in your circumstances, your relationships, your interactions, your job, every place where you are keeping this story alive. And the freedom part of this is that once you become aware of that story, and there could be many stories you have at play in your life, that vibration that you're vibrating so deep down you don't even understand why all these law of attraction techniques aren't working for you until you get to the place where you can identify it and become aware of it. Then you can begin to actually work on it and recover from your old story. Like attracts like. So it's not really so much wrapped up in your words, your lists, your gratitude lists. It's wrapped up in your vibration. So where is your core vibrating? Take a look at what continuously seems to be the theme of your life, of your relationships. What happens to every job? What happens to your money every time? What happens to what people do you attract over and over and over again? Martin's Recover Yourself workshop was so geniusly constructed that every single part of it makes sense for the next part. And he starts in a place with identifying your triggers, because our triggers are a beautiful way to actually identify the theme of our life. And in being able to look at those triggers, to see those triggers for what they truly are and what their common theme is, it was all a road leading back home to where that core vibration lives. The freedom of information is amazing. But when something resonates with you, it becomes learned and wisdom. We gain bits of information all day, every day. But what do we truly learn? We don't put everything we hear into practice. It must resonate with us. And I want to tell you, I know that my life will never be the same. And I don't say that lightly. You all know that I am in constant and consistent work on me. It's the only way that I'm going to keep myself out of the depths of addiction despair. Because I had even dedicated my life to addiction for the same story. I'm not important. So I just want to die. And every day I prayed it would be the last day. And I have to say that while I was going through this workshop yesterday, I kept hearing this voice of gratitude saying, I'm so glad, I'm so grateful that my attempts to give up didn't work, that I held on when everything in me wanted to just let go. What people don't understand about addiction, and it is not a job that somebody wakes up every day and enjoys going to or enjoys being. In fact, you feel trapped in a hell that you have no idea how to get out of. Yeah, sure, you've got a map to the next destination in our 12-step modalities and different things. We have that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we have the gas in our vehicle to follow that map, or that that map is going to get us to a destination, because we don't know what the destination is. In the depths of addiction, we think of one thing and one thing only. I just want to stop using. We have this belief system that if we stop using, everything's going to be okay. But we don't realize that we are still at the core of our experience. And it's why relapse becomes so prevalent, because we take away the drugs, the alcohol, the substance, the habit, whatever it is. And we realize, holy shit, I'm miserable. I'm still here. And we don't know how to cope. We got to go deeper. And that's what the Recover Yourself workshop aims to get you to do, is go deeper. To take that fast track to your root so that your life can begin to change from the moment you become aware of what's really going on. I've done so much personal development. I've done so much spiritual study. I've done so much. And coming to that one place, that one workshop yesterday, I realized more in those 3 hours than I ever had in any of my studies. We all know that our subconscious mind is running 90% of our program, if not more. Our conscious mind at 10% fights tirelessly, especially when we are on the surface of this personal development. Our conscious mind fights that subconscious to try to make things different. But we're talking about a 100-pound fighter versus a 500-pound fighter. It's outweighed. Your subconscious has no positive or negative abilities. It doesn't say this is right and this is wrong. It does what it's programmed to do. And guess what programs it? Your root story. So no matter how much your conscious mind wants you to change and affirms you to change, and yes, positive attitudes and all that is, yes, a big part of this healing, but it will still only stay on the surface if we never go down to that root. You discover your roots, you discover your freedom. And there is no destination that we get to where we go, okay, this is done. I made it. I'm my best self. Because we are constantly evolving, constantly changing, and constantly going deeper. But this one discovery could be the very discovery that starts to make all of the things you've been doing and working on for however long actually begin to show you the drastic results that you are looking for. I love MartinJon. Martin is going to actually send me the link to put here in the description and all of that so that you all know how to contact MartinJon. But I've got his podcast and his websites right here on the screen. Go to martinjon.com, check out his website, check out his podcast. He's got a YouTube channel. MartinJon's everywhere and deserves this information, just deserves to be more mainstream. Anthony McCauley, we talking about getting some information from Convene over to MartinJon. So if you're still here, get with MartinJon because I know you've got the info on that, and help him. This is information that needs to be in the hands of every human being on earth that is doing their best to become their best. And so I'm so honored and grateful to have gone through this yesterday. Putting this in practice in my life and being aware of it has already just opened and broadened my whole life's horizons. So I want to take a moment right now to say goodbye to a very good friend who we are unjustly gonna have to say goodbye to today, and he knows who he is. A lot of times in our recovery, things happen from the momentums that maybe the vibrations set in place many years ago. And sometimes we have to face things that seem unjust and that really truly are unjust in true reality. But in Buddhism, they say that suffering comes from not from the actual reality or the circumstance, but from the desire for it to be different. And I pray that this young man holds himself into that mindset that he is going to make this opposition an amazing opportunity for growth, for change, and for betterment. That he will go to that root and find more out about who he is and what his stories are during this time. And we as his family will be right here loving and supporting him and continuing to work for justice to be served. So I just want to say to you this morning, he knows who he is. I don't want to call his name out, that we love you and that everything that we have said to you that we will do, we will do. And that's the beauty of having amazing friendships in our lives. It's amazing. It's amazing. Also, last thing, today's the day. The Walk a Mile in My Shoes podcast, hosted by myself and Eric McCoy of the High While Clean podcast. We are interviewing Mr. Tommy Chong today for our final episode on the drug wars and how they violate our civil rights. We're going to talk to Mr. Chong about his 9-month stint in jail for bong selling, how the DEA managed to grab him on that charge, and what things were like for him. I'm sure we're going to talk about much more. So that won't be live, but that we will be taping that episode this afternoon, and it will be out in just a few days. So I hope that you will look for that. Remember, it's the Walk a Mile in My Shoes podcast, available on Audible, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, basically anywhere and everywhere that you can find a podcast. It's available. So make sure you go check it out. We're talking about some things that are really relevant, that goes past just trying to help people heal, but actually to try to expose the underneath, the root informations of a lot of the things that we are going through. So that's Walk a Mile in My Shoes. We also have a YouTube channel, so check us out and subscribe. Thank you for being here today. And MartinJon Garcia, thank you for dedicating your life and your purpose to helping all of us recover ourselves. It's a beautiful thing that you're doing, and I cannot wait until the masses understand what true healing is about. And you don't have to be recovering from substance to recover yourself. We've all got programs that are playing over and over in our heads. So I love you all. I want you all to have the most amazing winning Wednesday of your entire life because you are that powerful and you can choose to do so. I love you all, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.